this is where now we are moving from the companies to stocks, because you don't buy companies, you buy stocks. And if you're buying stocks, each stock has a price, and the prices fluctuate, and that's the risk of equity markets, or rather the highly visible risk of equity markets. Now, the moment you talk about risk, the academicians predominantly highlight the stock price fluctuation as the risk. But there is another risk. What if the company goes out of business? And this is a risk, especially in the smaller companies, or rather very small companies. The larger companies generally don't go out of business totally. Sometimes they are taken over by others. So eventually the shareholder gets something. Even if it's a very small amount, one would get something. But extremely small companies, sometimes they just shut down, net worth is wiped out, and there's nothing left. That is another risk that we need to remember. And from that point of view, whenever you are selecting a company to buy, whenever you are looking at the stock to buy, one of the fundamental principles that we need to look at is, can this company survive for long periods or not? So that's one risk. Price fluctuation is the other risk. And that's where uh, we need to understand the drivers of stock prices. There are multiple ways of putting it across, and a lot of times people say it is the fundamentals that drive the stock prices. A lot of times it's the sentiments that drive the stock prices. But what has happened in last 1 year is neither fundamentals nor sentiments. It is the excess liquidity which has driven the prices. The amount of money that the central banks have pumped in to boost the economy is unprecedented. Now, when you want to boost the economy and there is a lockdown, how will any entrepreneur invest a single rupee in the business when there's a lockdown? So what happened? And in a few countries, money was transferred directly to the people's accounts. In such case, I have nothing to do, there's no means of spending money, and I am getting excess income. What am I supposed to do? And that's where asset buying also starts. Add to that the fourth point, which is where the valuations would come in. So when the fundamentals are strong, valuations are cheap, sentiments are positive, and liquidity is excessive, you will see a bull run. But the confluence of all these four is a rare event. Most of the times, when the sentiment is positive, valuations are already high. When the sentiment is down, the valuations are already low. When the liquidity is poor, the valuations would be low. Even when the fundamentals are strong, by the way. And that interplay between these four is really an art much more than it is a science. But we'll still try to put it in a mathematical formula. But before that, let's get onto the art. And one of the finest economists, John Maynard Keynes, and he was such a brilliant guy that one branch of economics is known as Keynesian economics. He, in his book General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money, he quotes one wonderful analogy. So let me just put that question first and then get onto the explanation. So here is a beauty contest run by a magazine, and the readers of the magazine are supposed to pick up 6 most attractive faces from 100 photographs which the magazine has printed. But the contest is not so much about which of this 100 is the prettiest of the faces. The contest is about which reader will win the prize. And the readers who pick the most popular faces are eligible for a prize. So it's not so much of a beauty contest. It's more of a contest of the readers of the magazine to pick up the most popular among, most popular among the pretty faces. And then Keynes explains this. So, and it beautifully is done that. I only put it in small sentences because I had to put it on slide. But he's done a far more fabulous job. So first of all, he says it is not the case of choosing those faces which are the prettiest. It is not even the case of choosing those faces which, to the best of one's judgment, are the prettiest in the opinion of the others. So first of all, not the prettiest, but what the others consider to be the prettiest. He says it goes to the next degree. We have reached the third degree where we devote our intelligences to anticipate what average opinion expects the average opinion to be. What are the others thinking about the opinions of the others about those faces? Now replace the faces with stock prices or the fortunes of the stock or the fundamentals of the company. Isn't that what's happening?
Yeah.
There are two separate branches or the styles, not branches, but styles of investing in equity markets. One is known as the growth style of investing. The second is known as the value style of investing. Value style of investing says that I would buy $1 for 50 cents. So basically, in my opinion, a company's share price should be 100 rupees. I will buy only when it is available at 60 rupees, 50 rupees, or 30 rupees. No, it's interesting. So in my opinion, it is 100 rupees, but the market price is 50. How can that happen? That can happen when either the market is wrong in the assessment of the company or I am wrong in the assessment of the company. That's number one. Number two, assume that I am right in my assessment and the market is wrong. Then also, I'll have to wait till the time the market realizes that this company is not worth 50 rupees, it is worth 100 rupees. And then only the stock would move to 100. So I'll have to wait till then, which means the collective opinion has to shift. And Keynes added, he said, and there are some, I believe, who practice the fourth and fifth and higher degrees also. Okay? And now this is where some